Okay, welcome back. Um, I finally ran out of all my therapy notes. I'm sure I'll have more next week. um, oh yeah, I beat that guy. The walkthrough helped me. Um, I had a note that might be a little bit tough to talk about. Um, I think about gay marriage a lot because I'm a I'm a Christian, um, but I don't agree with how pretty much any of the Christians handle the situation. So I think about it a lot, and it makes me feel good about myself because I feel like I'm one of the good guys or whatever. um, and it's like, well, I'm a Christian, and I'm cool with gay marriage, so like I'm a cool guy. So I feel good about myself when I think about it. So I think about it a lot. um, my parents are obviously. I'm gonna say another bad thing about my parents. I'm sorry. They're good parents. They're good people. So I have to think of a good thing to say about them later. Uh, so they're kind of old school Christians, like literalists, I guess you would say. So they're not cool with any of that stuff. um, um, but I feel like I don't. It doesn't make me. I don't get angry at them or well, I get kind of upset because I feel like it's my responsibility to help them be better people. um, it, I feel like it is like the younger generation's responsibility to help the older generation almost like with their anxiety about all this new stuff that's happening, like what gay people are getting married and what's next, and I just want to like help them be not so anxious about it. um, like it's actually a good thing. um, and they can one less thing to be anxious about. So I feel like it's my responsibility to help them, and so when they bring up the topic, I never really talk about it because I don't know how to structure my argument to convince them that I know I would just probably just end up repeating what I hear other people say, that I know it doesn't work, it doesn't convince, it's not convincing. A lot of the time when people argue, especially on the internet, it's their goal isn't to convince the other person of their opinion or to change their opinion. It's to just it's this I guess it's just satisfying to state your own opinion in like a self-righteous way and be like, I'm right, and this makes me feel good about myself, and I feel smarter and better than you. That's the way it comes. So many arguments come across to me. Like it's not trying to convince the other person, which should be the main goal of most arguments. Just like, here's my point of view, and here's why I think you should maybe change your point of view. um, or I guess try to listen to what their point of view is and compromise on a solution, or I don't know. um, what would be my argument? I guess I would. I know that I don't know the Bible as well as I want to, but the best way to argue it is, I don't know. I was gonna say the best way to argue it is to use the Bible, but that's what the devil does. I mean, it's I would say the impression I get from the New Testament is I wouldn't lead off with this, but Jesus is on the side of the he would be on the side of the gay people. He would be advocating for them because they're the minority and they're the oppressed. Whether it's a sin or not doesn't matter at all. It's unquestionable to say that they're the lower status people, and so Jesus would want to help them. And I think most Christians are at that point. They're like, well, we hate the sin but not the sinner. They'll say something like that. Okay. So I would say to that, you have to be really careful to not treat the Bible like a rule book. I feel like that's what Jesus was saying. He never really said that, but that's what he was implying when he would go to the teachers of the law and be like, everything you guys are teaching is wrong. You guys are doing this all wrong, the Pharisees. And he would argue with them all day about, like, you're treating the Bible like a rule book. The Pharisees would try to catch Jesus and be like, Jesus, you healed this man on the Sabbath. That, you know, in the Torah it says you can't do that. And Jesus is like, Jesus Christ, do I have to really explain this to you guys? Like, isn't it lawful to do good on the Sabbath? Don't be so literal with the rules. If you're helping somebody, how can that be a sin? So I have to break this down into two. You have the 10 Commandments, but I have to simplify it for you. There's 2 commandments. Number 1 is love God, and number 2 is love your neighbor. If you're doing anything that goes against those 2 rules, then it's a sin, I guess. So if my neighbor is hurt, then I'm not loving them if I ignore them because it's the Sabbath. So then, I mean, it would be, my parents, I think, have self-described themselves as literalists. Like, they believe literally everything in the Bible, and that's hard for me. I don't think I could ever convince them that they're really not literalists. That's, like, deeply ingrained in them, I think. I would also like to include the example of Copernicus. I always think about him. The Catholic Church, I think it was Copernicus. He came up with the heliocentric model of the solar system, I think, and then the Catholic Church put him in prison for that. And my parents would say, okay, yeah, obviously that's dumb. It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that the Earth has to be the center of the universe. But I went and I looked, like, well, why did the Catholic Church care so much about this? Where did it say it in the Bible? And there are, like, I don't know, like almost 10 verses, mostly in the Old Testament, that's like, it says something Like, the earth is fixed in its position, the earth cannot be moved, God set the earth in the center and the stars around the heavens. There's a bunch of stuff like that. And so I'm thinking, okay, if you are a literalist, I can see... Oh no, is it this guy again? I could see how you would... Yeah, that's how you do it. I could see how you could interpret it that way. So... So there may be some ultimate higher truth that is absolutely true, that God knows, and He tried to reveal to us, but I don't think any of us will ever really know 100% what the absolute truth is, by reading the Bible, literally. We kind of have to figure it out by ourselves. As a Christian, I guess you would just say, you have to accept Jesus and all that stuff, and pray, and then and use the Bible as like a guide personally and spiritually for what to do, but it's not a rule book. And a lot of people, especially when you start using it in politics, that's like a terrible idea, because then you have to use that as a rule book because it's involved with like lawmaking. So people will be like, okay, gay marriage is illegal because in the Bible it says you shouldn't be gay. That's a terrible idea to do that. And I think if anybody really thought about it for a second, they would understand that. Democracy is better than theocracy. I think most people would agree with that. It's so dangerous to have a book that can be interpreted different ways and then have the people in power say, this is the way it is. And if you disagree with that, well, then you're disagreeing with God, so you're a heretic and we have to kill you. So that's why the only way to reconcile that is to just say, there is an absolute truth, but it's hard for us to know it. We're human and we make mistakes, and maybe we should just own up to the fact that the rules that we're making are our rules. They're not God's rules. And I guess I'll fight this boss. Oh, I don't have the key. So I didn't really talk about gay marriage that much. Yeah. I went through most of my notes. I don't know why people are so afraid to not be literalists. All you have to do is look at I don't know, the literalists, they've been wrong throughout history, so it's hard to say, okay, literalists were wrong. They were wrong about Copernicus. They were wrong about other stuff all the science stuff that they were wrong about. But now we finally have it all right. No, that can't be right. We must have interpreted some stuff wrong. So let's own up to that and not put it all on God and say, these are all God's rules. Well, some of them are our rules. God gave us 10 commandments, and then Jesus gave us 2 commandments, and anything other than that is kind of our own interpretation of what we think we should be doing. basically. I got a little bit deeper than I thought I would. I think gay marriage is kind of easier to than maybe some other issues, like the other big one is abortion, to convince Christians, because it's about love and God is all about love. So how, if two people say they love each other, how could God not be a part of that if God is love? That would be like the main argument, I guess. The other person might say, well, they don't really love each other. And then I guess my answer to that would be, well, it's not your job to judge them. It's God's job. So if they say they love each other and they're not hurting anybody, why should it be illegal, even if it is a sin? Do we really want to make everything in the Bible? Do we really want to be a theocracy? I don't think so, because then we'll be like, in the Bible it says, kill your kids or stone your kids that disobey. It's like, do we want to do that? I don't think so. Okay, I'll have to figure out where the key is next time. Or maybe let's just check this room up here. Okay, yeah, it's not here. Okay, that must have been 15 minutes, right? I had a political note about Bernie Sanders, but I didn't do a very good job about talking about politics last time, so I didn't want to try it again. Maybe next time. When I talked about, like, impeachment, I didn't feel like I did. It just devolved into what it always devolves into, which is like, the president's stupid and I don't like him, and that's not a hot take or anything. It's boring to say and to listen to, and if you disagree, then it's like, I didn't really explain it well, so I didn't want to try again, but I'll try next time maybe. Okay. I feel like today went okay. I recorded some episodes before I went to the therapist, but I don't think I'll do that again this time, just because I was really nervous and I wanted to just record that. So I'll go to the therapist on Wednesday, and then I'll talk about it on Friday. Next Friday. Okay. I was thinking, should I ask questions? I guess you're supposed to do that at the beginning or the end. I don't know. I need to do something like that. What kind of question could I ask? I don't know. I'll have to think of something. Okay. See you tomorrow.